Something that I've done ever since I was a kid at my grandmother's house was harvest sassafras to make tea. And sassafras has been outlawed, I guess, for sale in some jurisdictions because of a component in it called sassafras. Sassafras was one of the original roots used to make root beer. That, along with some other ones, sarsaparilla is one that a lot of people are familiar with. So what happens is you'll get one larger plant like this, and the roots spread out, and then little other plants called suckers will pop up. Identify sassafras with two main leaf shapes. You'll see this one where it splits off on two sides, and then you'll see some other ones like this. Looks kind of like the state of Michigan, or a mitten a little bit, where it'll just split off one side. I've heard before people say that this could be due to the male and female varieties of the plant, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. As a kid, we'd harvest so much sassafras at one point in time that I was worried that there wasn't going to be any more growing back around here. We had a really large tree that a lot of the suckers would pop up from, and I think that my grandmother's second husband had cleared the tree when they were doing some landscaping around a water irrigation area. Found some growing back a few years ago, so I came back here in the woods and planted it out of the way. Sassafras is also what they would call a pioneer tree. So after a fire or a large event that's cleared a field maybe, it's often one of the first trees to grow back. One of the first plants, I guess, to grow back. Probably has something to do with the lack of shade, not growing up in the shade of other trees, or maybe just because it's a hardy plant. Another important thing to do when you're trying to harvest sassafras is to confirm that, hey, this is actually the plant that we're going to boil and then drink the tea we make. Take the root, and you'll be able to smell the aroma. It kind of seems like a variation of root beer, the way that it smells. It should be kind of sweet and licorice-like in aroma. Usually when I'm harvesting sassafras, I try to take care to section off portions of the plant so that it's somewhat sustainable and I can have sassafras for years to come. What I'm doing with this one, since it's in the middle of a path and it's probably going to get damaged by vehicles coming through here, sometimes we'll come back with four-wheelers, or a lot of people in the family have campers and RVs. We've talked about making a spot to park and set up back here in the woods. So this one's probably going to get trampled over anyway. So this one I'm going to take up just about all of the plant, as much as I can seem to harvest. I do have some that I planted in another area in these woods, so that way it's out of the way and can grow for a few years before I really harvest a decent amount of the root from. I tend to do a lot of the digging by hand or with a small shovel, like this one that I just got from a garage sale for 50 cents. I think I might even talked them down on it too. I try to do a lot of the digging by hand so that I don't break the roots and I can kind of follow them along the ground. We get a lot of vines that grow, well, I don't know if I'd call them vines, but they're longer roots that grow along. We get a lot of pine straw. And so I like to try to trace each root back, because eventually my hands will smell like the licorice from the sassafras. And then I'll be wondering what root is what. And you don't want to just boil a root from any plant. So this is quite a bit, actually, to be able to take from one plant like this. It's probably going to a whole other plant that's going to pop up. It's not always that you get so lucky to get one long piece like this. A lot of times I just take sections of maybe 6 or 8 inches, and then I leave the root so that it can grow up into another plant. So when making tea from sassafras, some people say that you just simply strip the bark off the root. Something that we've always done is just chop through the root and create several smaller pieces and then use that rather than using the bark. I don't know that it really makes much of a difference. Well, this one was a much larger tree that got run over at some point, so we were lucky enough to have this big root ball left still. Around here the soil is so silty and the plants grow so shallow that a lot of a lot of roots are intertwined with each other. So sometimes I just get short sections like this. So what I'll do is I'll cut it off. Oh, there we go. I'll cut it off maybe 1 inch or 2 below where the surface would be, and I'll just slice that up and I'll boil that. So as you can see, here's the path for where people are normally walking or riding four-wheelers. So we dug up a few plants through here. One more we're working on. And these ones off to the side, I'm gonna leave these so they can keep growing and grow up some more suckers off the sides of them, and maybe we'll harvest those instead. Okay, now don't tell anybody, but this is my secret stash. You can see that plant there, this one, this one. These are all ones that came off just a couple that I had planted a few years back. And I'm letting these spread without anybody, even from the family, knowing about them. Simply because I want to have something for my kids to dig up years from now. So you'll see all these. These are the couple bigger ones that I had originally planted. So they're spreading out. There's probably maybe couple dozen plants that I see coming off them right now. So that's going to be great in a few years when these all grow up. Here's today's haul. This is what me and the kids dug up. We'll do this a few times a year or whenever we come down to visit my grandmother. A lot of people used to call sassafras tea a spring tonic. Like I said, it does have sassafras in it. Probably not something you should drink all the time. Sassafras is classified, I want to say, by the FDA to be somewhat carcinogenic, but then again, what isn't these days? I grow my food. Now, I've dried this stuff out for months before I brew it. It doesn't need to be brewed right away. It'll be fine. Sometimes I'll just wait till I miss my grandmother or think about some old times playing back here in the woods by her house. So it's not something that you need to do right away. You can set it aside and wait until the spring if you want to make it a spring tonic. It's not uncommon for hurricanes to come through this area, and I'm really surprised walking through here seeing that these woods aren't as well maintained as they usually are, with family coming through here all the time. I'm seeing poison ivy growing in. I'm also seeing trees down in the path, but actually this is a historical monument. No, my grandfather, my uncle and my dad used to have a horse in here way back in the day, but you still even see some of the old stuff, the extension cord that they'd used for a light. So this is a blast from the past for me. All grown in. I laid this out in the bed of the truck to show you how much we got. What we'll do is we're going to cut them just right there where the root turns into the top of the tree. We'll trim these off, we'll boil them, or really I'll probably let these dry out first, and we'll save them for another day. There's a lot of stray dogs around my grandma's house, and my uncle was driving home the other day. He saw this dog. She's been following me around. My daughter named her Maggie. She's pretty cute. I'm walking back to get my shovel that I left into the woods. Hey, if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. If you want me to make another video of actually brewing the tea, you can see what that looks like. You can let me know that as well. It's one of those things where, kind of like coffee or any other tea, you brew it about as strong as you have a taste for. So if you want to see what that's like, or if this is something you could see yourself doing, or do you think I'm crazy for digging up a plant and putting it in some boiling water, put that down in the comments below. I appreciate you watching and your feedback on what you think. See, like I said, I'm seeing this path overgrown, some downed trees, just general debris. My son and I were here in the fall and chopped some of this one up, and there's already another one fallen just a few feet away. What is surreal to me is that we had all this plowed down into a field when I was, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years old. I'd run through here. So all these trees have grown up in my lifetime, and really in the last 25 years.